let's talk about the top 10 things I read in 2019. I realize this video is super late and most people have already done these lists. I don't care, I'm doing it anyways. Things got busy and I didn't film a lot, so that sucks, but I don't know, I'm back, it's fine. Coming in at number 10 is The Blinds by Adam Sternbergh. This book is about a community where everyone who lives in this community was involved in a crime in some way. Now that could simply mean that they were a witness to a crime. They may have even been a victim to a crime. They don't know because their memories have been wiped before they live here. In the many years that this community has existed, there have never been any sort of crime or any sort of problems until all of a sudden people start dying. The majority of this book takes place from the sheriff's perspective. He is one of the few people there who actually has a memory of his life beforehand. I personally found this book similar to Stephen King in some ways. I don't know how to explain that really, but there was just like that vibe that I got from, I've read many Stephen King books at this point. I don't enjoy Stephen King, but I loved this, so I don't know what that says. But for me, the thing about this book was it was just a lot of fun. It didn't mean a whole lot. I wouldn't say there was some crazy twist or anything like that. I just found myself enjoying it so much. There were so many different one-liners and just like bits of dialogue that I just really enjoyed. And then there were also just scenes and standoffs, and I don't know, I just felt like I could picture it in my head and I wanted this to be a mini-series. I really enjoyed the book and I immediately ended up picking up another book from Adam Sternbergh because, I don't know, I just loved this. It had this like Western type of feel that I enjoyed. This to me kind of reminds me, like I said, of Stephen King, of like what Under the Dome could have been. And I hated Under the Dome, but I enjoyed this one. If you're looking for something a little different, I definitely don't think this is for everyone, but it was definitely an unexpected surprise for me. Coming in at number 9 is Trouble is a Friend of Mine by Stephanie Tromly. I have a thing for high school detective stories, and this is one of those. It has two main characters, Zoe and Digby. Digby is very much the Veronica Mars, Sherlock type of character of this story, but the main character is Zoe. We see everything through her eyes. Digby's kind of a pain in her ass, but they grow to form like a cute bond that I really enjoyed. What I liked most about this book though was just its sense of humor. I found myself cry laughing at certain scenes, and it also took on some really like dark topics that I wasn't expecting a young adult novel to deal with while still maintaining its humor, which I appreciate. It's definitely not the most important YA book you'll ever read, but it's just such an enjoyable good time, and I found that I really like those easy to read types of books. So I definitely think this is one more people should check out, and I can't wait to get to the second one this year. Number 8 on my list is Willing Victim by Cara Mckenna. This is actually a novella, very short. I picked this up on a complete whim. Like, I just was Googling one night and I was like, I need an erotica book that I'm going to enjoy, and I don't know, I just read so many similar erotica books that I was trying to look for something that was still in my wheelhouse, but not a bully romance. And I stumbled upon people talking about this one on some forum or another, and I was like, alright, I'll download it. It was like $3 or something, and holy crap, I love this so much. I didn't expect to. I didn't think I would love a novella. Like, I just didn't see how I'd get connected to characters that quickly in that short time, but I love this so much. This is about two characters named Laurel and Flynn. They meet randomly. They have like a meet cute interaction on the street, and she ends up going to a boxing match that he has, and somehow they end up having sex and stuff. But what really got me into this book was the character of Flynn. I've read so many of the same types of love interests in smutty books where they're all like dark and brooding, and they're super rich, and they're tortured souls who like hate themselves and take it out on everyone else, and I don't know, I'm just sick of that. This character, the character of Flynn, he was completely the opposite of that. He was just happy and confident in himself and what he likes. He doesn't question it, but he's also just like super open and super respectful, and he's also just an average guy who works at a construction company. He isn't like some crazy millionaire. He's not the smartest guy ever, but he's just happy and simple, and I don't know. I picture Channing Tatum. I know I said this in my review, but it's true. Because he's got kind of that like meathead feel. But I just appreciated so much the open and honest communication about sex in this book. Flynn's character was very into like rough sex. He's just very open about boundaries and communication and knowing what's okay and not okay and just being open and honest about that. I don't know, it like that doesn't happen in books. Usually it's like a contract that you have to sign about what you can and cannot do, whereas this was just what a regular relationship and sexual relationship should look like. It was aspirational and amazing, and I want more love interests like him. Number 7 was the manga A Silent Voice. I only read volume 1 of this, but like it stuck with me. I absolutely need to read more of this because I absolutely adored it. This story is about 2 young kids who have a very complicated relationship, and the girl is deaf and the boy ends up bullying her, mostly out of misunderstanding. Like he doesn't understand how to communicate with her, and so he makes a joke, but then that joke turns into like more jokes at her expense, and it just ends up with him bullying her and making her feel like crap, and she ends up leaving the school, and in the end he ends up getting bullied. It shows a progression just in volume 1 of him growing up to the point where I think he's like about to graduate high school or something, or maybe college, I don't know. But anyways, he decides that he's going to go find her and apologize for all the crap he put her through. It's a very dark start to a series, but it also just hit me so hard, and I feel like it just showed the way children can be pigeonholed and how labels can stick with them for the rest of their lives. How much the stuff that happens when you're kids, it can really influence who you are as adults. I don't know, it was really well done, and I can't wait to pick up more in the series. I wanted to pick up more, but I wanted to get them physically, and I just never got around to it, but I definitely will be reading more this year. Coming in at number 6 is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I feel like most people know what this is about by now, but I'll try to give a quick synopsis anyway. This is about a girl named Stevie Bell who ends up at Ellingham Academy because she has an interest in solving a cold case there. And there are 2 timelines, one back when this case happened where the wife and daughter of the dean go missing, and then there's the present day with Stevie Bell trying to figure out this murder, as well as another murder that happens in the present. I loved this book so much. It was quirky and adorable. I related to the character so much. There was anxiety rep in this that like it was kind of my first experience seeing anxiety rep since being diagnosed with severe anxiety, so that was really cool. I, like I said, really enjoy a teenage high school mystery, and this one was pretty well done. I will say that The Vanishing Stair is not my favorite, but I am really looking forward to checking out The Hand on the Wall. Is that the 3rd one? I think it is. I love the side characters in this. I love the dynamics between Stevie and the side characters, as well as like her love interest. I just think it's kind of weird and kind of fun and kooky, and it's just different. I enjoy this a lot, and I hope the 3rd one holds up. Number 5 on my favorites list this year is An Unkindness of Magicians by Kat Howard. This book is a world where magic exists, and there are different groups, communities, factions, I don't know, and they basically vie for a spot at the top every 10 years or something. I don't actually know. It's like every time there's a turning, I don't know. Anyways, they vie for a spot at the top, and how they do that is by going into this competition. They each select like a tribute and fight it out magic style to see who wins. But that's just the setting. The actual story is about the main character who has escaped this one house that everyone draws their magic from. Essentially, she, along with anyone else in this house, is tortured, her magic is drawn out of her, and it is given to the community. Now that she's escaped, she wants revenge, and so going into this turning is her way to get it. I just loved this book so much. There was something about the setting of this book that was just so addicting. There were a lot of problems in this book. If you watch my review, if you watch my wrap-up where I talk about this book, you'll see that I complain a lot about the different problems it has because there was just so many problems. But like somehow it still made it to my number 5 because that's how much fun it was. Once again, I just seem to be going for enjoyment over quality this year because I mean that's kind of what it's all about, and I really loved the idea of like this magic competition. I really loved the houses and how each house had its own personality. I loved the idea of how they get their magic because I just think that's so morose and it was just really interesting. The main character was really likable. Some of the friends she made along the way I really enjoyed as well. I can't wait for the second book to come out. It was supposed to be a standalone, but now Kat Howard is coming out with the second one, and I really hope that maybe she's able to fix some of the problems that were in the first one because this series could be so good. There is so much potential in this world. Number 4 on my list this year is Fables. There's probably nothing that I spent more time reading this year, maybe other than The Walking Dead, than Fables. I love these comics so much. They are very much like Once Upon a Time, but in comic form. Basically, it is all about all the Disney princesses and princes that you've ever heard of, and fairy tale characters, and characters from different nursery rhymes and crap like that. Basically, all of that stuff. They get run out of their homeland by someone called the Adversary, and they all end up having to come to, I believe it's New York, but mostly they have to come to the real world, the Mundy world, as they call it, to escape the Adversary. They build their own little home with wards and spells and protections, although they do go into the Mundy world as well. They also have the farm where all the animal fairy tales exist, and you get to see all the fairy tales you know and love interact, and it's just fun. Once again, like, I loved it so much. I fell in love with so many of these characters, and they build up to these big wars with the adversaries to try and get back to the homelands, and it was just so good. And I mean, not just the big fairy tales that you've heard of either, like Snow White is one of my favorite characters along with the Big Bad Wolf, but like Boy Blue and Flycatcher, such good characters. There'll be these small characters that you don't think you're that invested in, but they'll build up this storyline for them, and it's just great. Everyone should read this. I know it's a classic comic book, so most people have read it, but I'm just absolutely dying over it. I'm a little over halfway through the series, and I'm gonna be so upset when I run out. Now we're into my top 3 favorite things for the year of 2019. I feel like these 3 things stand above the rest. Everything else is over here, and then there's just these 3 things are my tops. Coming in at number 3 is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a thriller / sci-fi novel about a guy who gets kidnapped and wakes up to a life that is much like his, but not quite. This book is just so well done and so thoughtful, and it'll make you think so much about your own choices and your own life, and I mean, really, what more could you ask for? I am not a sci-fi reader. It goes over my head, I don't get it, and I don't care. But the thing about this book is, while it is sci-fi, it's also very personal. And I feel like that's what makes all the difference, because I cared about this person's life. It wasn't the macro lens of things. It wasn't like the world is gonna end. It's just about this one dude. And I think that's what made it so likable. I could have spent forever in this story. Like, it could have been twice as long and I would have loved it just as much. I just wanted to explore more and more. This would make such a good movie or mini-series or something. I feel like if you haven't tried a lot of sci-fi but you love thrillers, this is a great book to pick up. And I mean, it's my number 3 pick of the year. This is one I'm gonna make my boyfriend read, and I hope he likes it because it was so good. Coming in at number 2 is the duo of A Lesson in Thorns and A Feast of Sparks by Sierra Simone. Look, I know a lot of people hated A Feast of Sparks. I loved it, okay? These books are about a group of friends who haven't seen each other in quite a while, but they come back to this mansion, and essentially they just have a lot of orgies. There's not a whole lot to it than that. They try to add in some shit, like a mystery element and all this. I don't care about any of that. It's just a good, fun, sexy time. The writing makes this what it is. It's very atmospheric, very addictive. It's got this gothic atmosphere, and it's just so intoxicating. Like, you just want to spend more and more time in this weird freaking place. I liked the first book, but I didn't really love any of the characters. I thought Saint was interesting, and Delphine was okay, and I kind of was interested in Beckett, but like, it was all just meh. Whereas in the second book, I fell in love with Auden and Saint and their dynamic. I loved it so much. I know the ending to the second book is goddamn awful. I completely agree. But that first half of the book with Saint and Auden's like dynamic and their back and forth and the flirting, I could have just held on to that forever. So I loved it. I can't wait for the third and fourth book. I'm gonna eat that shit up. And my number one favorite thing that I read in 2019 was Locke Key by Joe Hill and Gabrielle Rodriguez. This is just the first edition. They're like the collector's edition or something. There's 3 books. This is the first one. I loved this series so goddamn much. This was the year of comics for me, and this was by far my favorite one. So Locke Key is about a family whose dad dies, and they move back to his childhood home called Key House. Key House is a very magical, crazy ass place that has a bunch of keys to a bunch of different doors that all do some crazy shit. There is this evil entity that they also have to battle with while dealing with their grief, and it was just amazing. Someone described it as horror Narnia, and I was like, yeah, that's about right. I just blew through these. I loved every single character. This is another book that like I could spend a lifetime in. I loved just like learning about all the new doors and all the new complications, and just like the way they used all these keys, as well as delving into like all of their emotional issues with grief, because I've been there. This is just such an amazing series. I want everyone to read it. And I can't wait for this freaking TV show to come out. It comes out next month, and that blows my mind, and the trailer looks so fucking good. So that's it. That's my top 10 of 2019. I hope you'll give some of these a try. I hope you like this video, and I hope you'll come back again for more. Bye.